He did claim that he was technologically not the most professional. Oh, here he is. Hold on, let me just get him on screen. You just come up, you're seeing 3, 2, 1, and
hey!
Hello, it's a miracle. Oh yeah, thanks so
right.
much, Sharon and Mark Billingham, for coming on. We're waiting for Sara. I don't know whether she'll show her face. Sara is from the Newark Literary Festival. Sharon Canavar is, let me get this right, Chief Executive of Harrogate International Festivals. And Mark Billingham needs no introduction at all, I don't expect, and is wearing a very fine hat indoors. Oh, Mark Billingham is the best-selling crime writer. And how many times have you won? Talking like Harrogate International Festival, for anybody who doesn't know, host or run the Theakston's Crime Festival, which is one of the world's biggest, if not the world's biggest crime festival, and also features the Theakston's Prize, which Mark has won at least twice. How many times have you won it?
Just twice.
Just twice.
Nobody's bitter about it, though. It's fine.
But so welcome both. And actually, the reason why, it's a shame Sara isn't here yet, but originally she was the first guest book for this lot, and I was going to be talking about this whole idea of festivals. And then on Monday, we all heard some awful news that Theakston's was not happening this year, which I think was one of the things that made us really sad, because Crime Fest had to cancel Theakston's. And those, if you're a crime writer, are kind of the points where we say hello to each other. It's the point where we're all there, and suddenly this bit has gone from the calendar. I think we're all feeling a bit bereft about that. How are you feeling about it, Sharon?
I think bereft is exactly right. I mean, we run over 300 events a year, but the Crime Writing Festival for my team as well, and the hotel that we hold it at, it's one of those big buzzy events that everybody, even though you're working, absolutely loves. So yeah, bereft is exactly that. And also, it's been lovely, we had a lot of tears about it, but it's been really lovely to see the kind of outpouring of care for the festivals and how people really, place it within their lives.
I'm just getting some messages here, so I'm trying to work out what's going on. Oh, might have lost the plot, says, oh no, there we go. That was you, I think they're referring to. Mark, sorry. Yeah, how did you actually come to make that decision? Because it can't be an easy one to make. You must have to contact so many people. There's so many people involved in this. It's become such a huge thing. It can't be just a thing where you just sit around and decide one day, okay, we can't do it.
Well, I've decided that it's harder to pull a festival than it is to actually put one on. I've certainly drunk a lot more. We were watching the news with interest. We've been talking about it. It feels like non-stop. We're a charity organisation. I've got a board of trustees that I report to, and we have charitable objects that, in terms of the power of the arts and getting people involved in festivals and engaging in kind of writing and music and all sorts. So we've got a lot of things that we need to check in with and make sure that we're doing right before you make a big decision. But ultimately, it's about the health and safety and doing the right thing and making sure that, even if by some shape we're starting to come out of what's going on maybe back end of June, early July, to put an event on the scale and the size of what we do and the volume of people, and they're not going to stay 2 meters apart. In a month of Sundays, I've never seen so many air kisses. So it's, that whole thing is never going to work. So we've got to say, let's just take a breath and say no. And I think we made it at the right time, to be honest.
So it does leave a big hole in, I was thinking about Harrogate, all those, it's not just you, is it? I mean, the festival circuit you run is a massive part of a whole town's economy. All the hotels that kind of involved in it. I mean, just trying to get a hotel for us as writers going up there, it can be a nightmare because they're all booked up, which is a success story, isn't it? But now it must be pretty awful to be telling this to the town.
It's 2,000 hotel rooms. I mean, we're a tourism town. It's one of the lovely things about Harrogate is that, we've got a great big convention centre. The Home and Gift comes here. There's lots of conferences and events going on, plus festivals like ours. But what's really bizarre at the moment is that one of the venues where we have all our events is now a Nightingale Hospital. So this beautiful listed building is where we had J.K. Rowling, where we had Dan Brown. And all our orchestral performances is wrapped around by exhibition centres, and you can't get into it. And there's massive, 20-metre oxygen tanks outside. So we've gone from, this big festivals and events town to something totally different and nowhere more visible than on our doorstep with the Nightingale Hospital.
And what does this do to your summer, Mark? I mean, you do a lot of events. Presumably, as many as you want to do. Suddenly there's all these gaps in your schedule, presumably.
Yeah, well, yeah, mine and everybody else's. It's horrible because, you know, the writing of the books, as you know, that's the job. And the going to festivals and doing events and stuff, that's the fun bit. You know, that's the perk of the job. You get to meet readers, you hang out with your mates and all the other writers and stuff, and those are the bits that you really look forward to. So losing Harrogate is enormous. It's the first weekend that we mark down in our diary every year, and as someone, you know, tangentially involved in the festival, being on the committee, not doing a fraction of the work Sharon and her team does, but knowing how much has gone into putting that program together, it's awfully sad. But it will be back in 2021, bigger and better than ever, and we will have a festival to remember. I can promise you that.
Because it was Ian Rankin programming this year. Is that
Ian
right?
Rankin has programmed it and still will be programming it next year.
So all that's going to, well, I mean, obviously it'll change because it's a different year, different things happening, but presumably a lot of that's going to roll over, and a lot of the ideas that,
that's the ambition.
It was Mark's idea, actually, because we'd thought long and hard about, do we just put it all onto a digital format and find a way of doing it? But Mark just said, let's just bounce the whole thing, because we've got loads of digital content that we can find elsewhere and commission new stuff, which is actually really exciting. And there's such a perfect program with the special guests, and some of whom we hadn't even announced, and some of the panels. And actually, in our email that went out to all the authors and publishers, just saying, look, will you roll? And we've had such lovely feedback from so many people going, yeah, definitely, the dates are in the diary, I will absolutely commit. So we've got a program in the bag for next year before we start, which is really exciting.
I mean, it shouldn't make much difference. Everybody will have different books to promote, I guess. That's probably the only difference. And then maybe a few changes. A few people may find they're unavailable. Some of the people who are intending to come as festival attendees this year suddenly might find for some reason they're not available. But largely, I think people will be just gagging to get back to Harrogate, and it will be a festival to remember. I can promise you that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. And does it give you a chance? I mean, like, we've finally got Sara. Now, this could be entirely my fault, because she's saying, did you send me a link? And I'm beginning to wonder, did I send Sara a link? Did I? But she's about to pop up onto screen. And
yay!
Welcome, Sara Bullimore from Newark Literary Festival.
Yes.
Thanks so much for coming on. And I'm awful, aren't I? I was explaining before we came on to Sharon that this was supposed to be slightly shambolic. It wasn't supposed to be very professional. And now I've realized it's so unprofessional, I don't even invite the guests on. Sara, what was that, Mark?
That was something falling off my shelf.
Oh, right, okay.
Look at all the bookshelves. Look at the bookshelves. In a remote office. I'm currently in kind of the music laundry, telly bloke cave, and I've got kind of crafts stuck on that I can't put anywhere else in the house, but I will put them in here from my children. And you've got beautiful books behind you.
No, what I've got, where is he? There, other shoulder, is my spooky ventriloquist doll. There he is.
You win with interesting things behind your shoulders.
Spooky ventriloquist doll and some stuffed animals. But
can we all breathe in? I'm going to try and put us all like in this mode, which is it's a bit Dallas, but that way I can put people's comments on the screen without obscuring Mark's face.
Where are the filters? I want some filters.
Now, come on.
Can you give us kind of sepia or?
Even Zoom's got filters, I discovered this week as well.
I should just remind everybody, I was explaining who Sara was before Sara arrived, so I'll do all that again. Sara runs a Newark Literary Festival and is probably in the same sort of boat. What are your plans? How are you thinking about the summer of 2020 right now?
Oh, it's kind of crazy, isn't it, really? And it's heartbreaking when you've put so much into it with a festival and worked so hard. We're just, over the past 3 weeks, both myself and the festival manager and our board have been working to write contingency plans and risk management documents and safety guidelines. And that included Plan B, Plan C and alternative ways as well to run the festival. So this week we're looking at starting perhaps Plan B. So basically we are going to split the festival up and reimagine it in something different than what we were going to do to start with. So a lot of work to do.
That sounds very, when you say reimagining it, so will some of it be virtual, or do virtual things work? Yeah.
We'll have lots of different elements. So we'll have a virtual program sooner, but then also we're going to look at doing mini seasons instead, so spreading it throughout the year. It was just that we've worked so hard this year on the fundraising and getting the money in to pay for authors and artists and that. And we just didn't want to, after putting together such a wonderful program, we didn't want to not have to deliver it, really. So we've been having a look at how else we can put it together to deliver everything.
Which is very similar to the same kind of thing you're facing, Sharon. I mean, like you have these ideas and they're brilliant ideas and you don't want them to disappear into the ether, really, do you?
Exactly that, yeah.
Mm.
I think that's the key point about the kind of fundraising sort of thing. It's you work so hard to find the money to put it all together, and it sounds like you're like us with a board and a charitable remit, and it's the hardest thing getting money out of people to support the arts when there's so much challenge for for people to donate. But once you've got it and you've got this program, it's heartrending to think actually no one else, this like giving birth is like, this is going to be fantastic. I guess it's like writing a book for you guys. We really want to put this on and make the stage happen, and to not have that is so hard.
It is, yeah, definitely.
There's Andy Hill saying it's like having an arm locked off. No Harrogate, no Newcastle, no crime fest. And you do a lot of crime as well, obviously there, Sara, because it's books, it's literature. We also, there's some comment lag going on here because I'm getting one from Domenica De Rosa, who will probably know better as Ellie Griffiths, who's saying, I'm free. So I'm not sure which festival this is for, but...
Is she doing a John Inman impression?
I saw that come up and didn't know what it meant. I thought there was some secret code going on.
I've got something stuck in my teeth. That's all good.
Private message.
Yeah. So just personally, can I just ask all of you, starting with you, Sara, how are you coping with this having to work from home business? Because you're also having to shift all the admin you're doing to the room that was probably talking to you in.
No, this is my home office. I've been working from home for 11 years, so
okay.
I'm already on that. This is Book Festival headquarters.
Oh, okay. Oh, well done.
Because we don't have offices, so there's just myself and this year Book Festival manager Claire, who is in another house with books behind her probably. So it is everyone gets to see now into real Book Festival headquarters space. So I'm on with the working from home thing. That's fine.
And Mark, for you. And, I sort of find for writers, this is less of an interruption than any other work type in the world. We're at home. This is what we do.
Yeah. It gives me even more of an excuse not to bother getting dressed.
How are you from the waist down today? I mean, it's...
most of the time you do slob around the house in a ratty dressing gown and what certain people refer to as leisure pants, but are actually pajama bottoms. I don't know what you feel, though. I've spoken to a lot of writers about this in the last couple of weeks. There's actually obviously loads more time to write, and I've personally been doing a lot of writing. But at the end of the day, I kind of look at it and go, what's the point? There's a little bit of you that feels, isn't it all so freaking unimportant at the end of the day? Even if you're pleased with what you've written, you go, it's just a story. It makes me feel everything's a little bit pointless. I know that sounds pessimistic, and but... we're incredibly lucky. We're incredibly lucky. We just sit in making stuff up at home, There you go.
I think that's a really good point. And also, I mean, on a far smaller thing. It's just like also, what are we writing? I think for crime writers, part of the real world enters into our books. That's why I think it's such a powerful genre, because we write about things we make up and we put them in a real place. Suddenly, we're not sure what the real place is. I mean, it's
certainly if you're setting books next year, let's say you're writing them now and you're setting them next year, there has to be some reference. If you're setting it in a real city in real time, you can't pretend what's happening now hasn't happened. What I do worry about, though, is what I'm interested in is what people are actually going to want to read, because at times that when there's been national trauma, whether it be a world war or a terrorist attack or something. Historically, people have tended to want to read things that are a bit more kind of reassuring and healing and comforting and all. I'm not sure they're going to want to read lots of novels about pandemics. Personally, that's
although there are several suddenly appearing, which is
funny.
Remarkable. But I think there is that. There's a sort of big thing I think with crime fiction. They're saying, well, having been told for years, because I used to write a historical series. Oh, historical fiction's dead. Suddenly, it seems quite alive again at the moment. As if you got, I'm going to go to some questions that people are sending in because we seem to have loads. I'm just going to put some comments on the Andrew Harrison on the screen now. Somebody was saying to Mark, and now Mark, obviously, that one thing I wanted to ask you is, like, you've obviously got the paperback of Their Little Secret out. You're looking forward to a Crybaby coming out in the summer. Actually, what's going to happen? I mean, like, do you know what's happening to Crybaby?
As things stand, it is coming out. As things stand, it is coming out on July the 23rd. It won't be coming out the first day of the Harrogate Peaks and Peculiar Crime Festival, sadly. But yeah, we're sticking with the pub date we've got. I mean, one of the problems, of course, is everybody's moving. Everybody's jumping around and moving, and nobody quite knows. Is there a dog?
It is my dog. I was hoping.
I was trying to work out from your facial expressions who had the dog.
I thought if I kept calm, everyone would blame somebody else. It was fine.
Yeah, you were doing that great pretense of nope, nothing to do with me. I don't know where's that dog noise coming from. So yeah, but we're certainly sticking with publication plans as they are. So yeah, a new book is coming in July. It's the 20th book in 2020. But there won't be a big party for that this year. Next year, that'll roll over.
And it must be, I think it's also quite weird because you don't know how books are selling. Certainly ebooks are selling, audiobooks seem to be selling, but physical books, who knows how you get hold of them at the moment? It's sort of like seems to change from day to day.
It's tricky, even mail orders, even ordering books online seems to have run aground. But I think that'll start picking up again in a couple of weeks, looking at the models of the countries that are a bit ahead of us. Retailers are already starting to open up again in Italy and Spain, and nobody knows, do they? Nobody knows.
Alison Valentine asks, Mark, how difficult is it to narrate your books, and how long does it take you? I imagine it takes an age, doesn't it, reading a book?
I do it usually in about 3 days, and it's much harder than you think. Physically, I know it sounds ludicrous, you're not digging a ditch, but at the end of the day, you're absolutely knackered. It's really, you're just concentrating and trying not to trip over your words and all that sort of stuff. The hard bit is that when you write the books, I kind of forget that in a year's time I'm going to be in a studio somewhere, and I go, oh, he was Welsh, she was Scottish, they're Polish, and suddenly in the studio I've got to do all these bloody accents and make a fool of myself. But and some I'm all right with, some I'm not all right with. So apologies to anybody from Liverpool who goes, what does he think he sounds like?
I hear they're very. Yeah, I haven't heard them, but I hear they're brilliant.
I do enjoy doing it.
But also, whenever I appear with somebody on stage and people read the books, I notice they've got all the crossings out and I didn't decide to do it that way, and people change the way they want to have it. And that must be a bit weird because you've got to read the book. You're not allowed to re-edit it just for performance, are you?
In theory, I'm not. And I kind of may stop sometimes and go, oh, God, I'm so not saying that sentence. And the producer will look fiercely at me through the window and go, oh, yes, you are. And I'll go, but it's my book. And he says, I don't care. But just every now and again, if I just go, no, I'm really not saying that. I so wish. Because, you write it and you deliver it. And then suddenly 6 months later, you're reading it again. I mean, how often do you reread books you've finished?
Yeah, no, completely.
It's really... And recently I've been narrating books I wrote nearly 20 years ago. I've been going back to read the early books. And boy, do you wish you'd done it differently.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting. But on the other hand, doesn't everybody forget what they were? So it must be quite useful for picking up the threads. Yeah,
there's a bit of that. But then there's also, you're rather like this new book, Crybaby, which is a prequel to Sleepyhead. So it's gone back to a time before mobile phones and CCTV and all that stuff. I'm reading these books set at a time when if you wanted to know how to get somewhere, you had an A to Z. And if you wanted to, get pictures developed, you took them to the chemist. And it feels like you're reading historical fiction. It's really weird.
Shut up! That were my teenage years.
I know. Teenage. Teenage, Sharon.
I'm so behind on the comments. I'm putting up comments that were jokes like 5 minutes ago in this from.
There's lots of dog ones that have come up. I was texting my son to deactivate the dog. Yes.
Oh, that's very good.
Oh, that's my designer.
Oh, really? Oh, Conrad Davis. Hi, Conrad. And Conrad, the name of somebody in Their Little Secret, in fact.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
I always like to see these comments at all as well. People saying, have I been getting Scouse lessons from Luca?
Oh, you're well ahead of me. I have to catch up with these.
A Scouse accent is really easy, and I do this just for Luca's benefit. All you've got to do is order chicken and chips and a can of Coke. All you've got to do is go, chicken and chips and a can of Coke. That's all you've got to do. And there's your Scouse accent. Right there. Sorry, Luca.
So Andrew Harrison.
We all want to go, and I'm trying to resist in case it's really terrible.
It's easy.
No.
Is
it Tara Salati was the one that used to be able to say with a Scouse accent?
Come on, try Tara Salati.
No, because all I'll get is abuse for the next 10 years from you. It's just not worth it.
Andrew Harrison, who runs a very good podcast called Big Mouth, if you haven't come across it, says, a massive nerd asks, that must be him, will the lockdown lead to a boost for fantasy or escapist fiction, especially the crafting of alternate realities? It's a very long question. I'm not going to read it all, but it's a brilliant one. Genre collisions. Yeah, I think it might as well. I mean, I think that's one of the things. We don't know what's going to happen. And I think actually, there's all sorts of interesting things going on. Like, we don't know what shape publishing is going to come out at the end of this. Do you know what I mean? They're changing things so rapidly. My publisher is having to experiment with things like digital publishing, which is a whole novelty to them. That's a bit rude, actually. It's not. They're very good at it as well, but it's suddenly putting them into a place that they, they weren't expecting to be, and it's not necessarily a disaster.
Well, everybody's having to get much more au fait with the digital world. Not just the likes of us, but I mean, I know my publisher has moved all the marketing has become digital. It's all had to suddenly become digital.
Everyone's had to become much more agile, haven't they, than they previously were?
Completely.
Yeah.
And I always think of the publishing industry as one that's very staid and hard to move, but actually I'm quite impressed by the speed at which some people are doing stuff. I mean, I think you in festivals are natural improvisers, because that's what you do. 2 days before an event, somebody doesn't turn up, their helicopter's broken down. And you have to do something else.
And you know
what? We've got some stories about that.
Often it results in some of the best events. Sharon, a few years back, an author who we better not name, decided...
The helicopter actually couldn't take off, could it?
Yeah, there was some flooding. Do you remember there was some really bad flooding, and he couldn't get there, and suddenly we had to completely think on our feet, and we just put together this event, and everybody, will you do it? Will you do that? And the festival knocked up a set and and we just had a great event. And in the end, we went, sod him, glad he didn't come.
And do you know what? That's one of the best events I think we've ever had in Harrogate, though. That it was US versus UK, and I think we had Lee Child and Han Coben and you and Val on the other side, and it was organised carnage, but probably we got the best out of everybody on stage. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Has that thing happened to you as well, Sara? Do you have?
Yeah, definitely.
Who's let you down, Sara?
Call it counselling. It's fine.
Yeah, we've had all sorts of things, and I kind of like those things where you don't know what happens when you do events and festivals, and it's that kind of last-minute crisis management. And I guess really it makes us kind of have a set of skills ready to be able to deal with the total unexpected, and to be able to see all angles, really ready for it. But yes, over the years, many stories and many things.
You've been on your digital life, you've been posting updates on your jigsaw puzzle making, which I wanted to ask you about, because I've got quite fascinated with that. What are you working on right now, Mark?
Well, at the moment, I'm just in because it was the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album jigsaw I was doing, and it took me 10 days. I mean, honestly, I was ready to throw the whole thing in the air.
How many pieces was it?
1,000. And I've not done a jigsaw since I was a kid with that. So I thought this is the perfect time. It took 10 days. When that final piece went in, I mean, oh my God, I don't think I've ever been prouder of anything in my whole life. So I immediately thought I'm going to send off another one, so I've sent off the cover of Abbey Road, but that's not coming for another week. So at the moment, I'm making do with a jigsaw with animals. Not doing so well, but no, it's great. It's great.
And Sharon and Sara, do you have any downtime? Sharon, do you have your hours to fill that you didn't have before?
No, not at all. Actually, I don't think I don't know if it's like for you, Sarah, but I feel like in the last 4 weeks I've worked like it's the festival, because we've had to do all the contingency plans and put other things in place. Partly because we're not publicly funded particularly well. It's sort of less than 1% of our income, and all our fundraising that allows us to deliver our work for the rest of the year comes in from 31st of March to the 31st of July. So about 850 grand's worth of money has just been wiped off. I mean, that goes on spending on artists and orchestras and authors and tents and all sorts of other bits and pieces, and paying the team and things like that. So all of those HR things in terms of furloughing people and making some changes for us as an organisation, that's really what has taken the time. It feels like the end's sort of insight now. We've made some of those decisions that were giving us sleepless nights, but I guess you're pretty much the same.
I'm at the beginning of the sleepless nights still, so yeah.
Yeah, gin helps, is what I would say.
But it's interesting, that public funding thing, because I mean, like, the Arts Council seem to be, you know, trying to pay out what they've committed as much as possible. If you don't have that kind of funding, you're in quite a lot of, you know, crisis.
No, exactly. I mean, we've just been looking at the Arts Council. We're not what's called a national portfolio organisation, and automatically they're in the portfolio and they're going to get more money than those that are outside of the organisation. And they're often big buildings, you know, theatres and big staff and things like that. So you can understand that, you know, that massive investment that sort of things takes. But the thing about festivals, and why I sometimes think they're somewhat undervalued by the Arts Council and maybe others as well, is that I think festivals fill the cracks that other organisations don't fill. They are agile. The money does go on the work. It doesn't go on, you know, on the staff and things like that. And it allows you to look at what's going on in the world and make changes and interact with your audience so they become participants, but also give the opportunity for showcasing new musicians, new authors, and also, you know, some of the best, you know, talent that is out there, being able to attract them to your town. That's what festivals do. It's not a tour. It's not somewhere that goes to, you know, that theatre there in the, you know, and then 20 miles down the road. It's something special and unique and in the moment. And that's why I think festivals should be supported, because there's loads that run on a tiny shoestring, you know, hosts of volunteers, people working remotely all year round. And that's why it's really important that they are supported.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, the thing is about festivals, the most extraordinary thing is an event that will get 3 people turning up to, if it's properly programmed in a festival, can have a full hall just because it's within that context. And so you can do extraordinary things, can't you?
And it can shift books for the author. That's the other thing as well. It's about, you know, that commercialism in terms of shifting unit. If they're coming to your festival, you have to give them the very best amplification of their work to make sure that people are going out to that bookshop. Absolutely love it. I want to know more. I want to buy more. Where's the backlist? All of that. That's what we want to make sure happens, because the buzz should be, you know, the applause and into the bookshop. And that's really what it's all about.
I mean, to be honest, Sharon, the publishers wouldn't be coming if you weren't doing that. You know, it's the fact that the festival like Harrogate does shift an awful lot of books, which for publishers, of course, is the bottom line. And it's not just writers that are gutted that Harrogate's not happening. You know, virtually the entire publishing industry up sticks and goes to Harrogate for the weekend, and, you know, and then rests their liver for the rest of the year.
The Theakston's Prize winner, Sarah Hillary, asked, how can we help you guys? And I suspect the answer is by making sure we all turn up next year. What's your version of that, Sara?
We've actually, because we started 2020 with a fundraising challenge already, so we feel like we've already done challenges. But we actually have our crowdfunding live still from January. So we're on justgiving.com. It's crowdfunding Newark Book Festival UK if you search for it. So really, I'm sure, you know, from every festival's point of view, as many people, if they can afford to donate as well, to help, because the impact is going to be a longer impact as well for us all financially, as well as kind of costs that have lost, or extra costs as well that we've gained from all of this with extra staffing and time spent on things for this year. It's also then that impact of how we use the box office for 2021 and onwards as well. So really just people spreading the word about the festivals and helping to donate where they can makes such a huge difference to everyone.
For our rich American benefactors watching, Newark is spelt N-E-W-A-R-K. Make out your checks now. Andrew Harrison said that he wants to send you the White Album jigsaw, Mark.
Oh, yeah, that's a tricky one.
And Nick Quantrill, who also runs, has run events and festivals in Hull as well. You know, best wishes to you all. I think we've probably talked for close on to half an hour, and I think after that, people have generally had more than enough. I need to put the kettle on. Enough. But it has been a real pleasure. And thank you so much for coming on, even though I probably didn't send out the invitations properly. I love your technological persistence. Tomorrow, I'm going to be speaking to Steve Kavanagh over here, and very much looking forward to that. And good luck with 2021. I mean, they're both going to be fabulous and doubly energized, and the crowds will be immense.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Thank you so much, all of you.
Cheers, William.
Thanks for having us.
Great. All right. And
see you, Sharon. See you, Sara.
See you. Best of luck, Sarah. Hope it all goes well.
See you later.
Yes.